No. Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Nikki, and today's video is going to be pretty much just an overview of my entire weight loss journey. I know a lot of people are making resolutions right now for the new year. People are looking to change their lifestyle to develop healthier habits, and I'm just hoping that giving my experience, sharing my tips can help someone else out, because I really did find a lot of different ways to keep me going and ways that have kept me on track still. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And let's just go ahead and get started on some background information. So if you're new to my channel, or maybe you don't know my whole backstory, I have been bigger my entire life. I've always been extremely active. So all throughout my life, I was in dance, gymnastics, volleyball, pretty much volleyball for majority of my life. Since I was in 6th grade all the way through college, I graduated from UIS. I played volleyball there. And so I've always been really active, but I've always struggled with food, and I've always been the heavier kid in the group and just overweight, honestly. So weight loss wasn't something I was new to. I was my entire life trying to lose weight, trying to look like other people. I was so focused on that. Really, I struggled so much when it came to that. I had always had really poor eating habits. We ate a lot of frozen food, a lot of cheese and tortillas and bread and mac and cheese and pasta, and a lot of food that I ate in portion sizes that were way bigger than they should have been. And because of that, I had gained weight. No matter how active I was as a kid, I still was bigger because of the way I ate. And one thing, and I can link the videos below where I go a little more into detail with it, but I did struggle with binge eating for a very long time, and I kept it a secret for a very long time, and it was something that I really struggled with. And so that was something that I had to deal with, and that was something that had caused my weight gain throughout my life. So when I got to college especially, I was really able to get away with it because of how active I was. I was burning thousands of calories a day with 3-a-day volleyball practices and weightlifting and everything and conditioning. Because of that, I never really gained what I probably would have if I was not as active as I was. I still was not making good food choices, and I was not feeling my body the way that I should have been. I just want to start off by saying this is all based on my personal experience. Everything that I talk about is what's worked best for me and what has personally worked on my journey. So you have to remember that going into this, everybody's journey is different. Everyone has things that affect them differently. And so you just have to remember that this is your journey, and I'm just sharing my experience based on my journey. But anyway, I kind of tried to break this down into sections, but I really want to start out with the most important thing, and that was the mental aspect of weight loss. And I feel like a lot of times you hear people talk about that, but I never really processed it. I never really thought about it, and I never really made the mental changes that I needed to make to achieve the success that I wanted with these new healthy lifestyle changes. I always felt so shameful and so embarrassed for my weight. I always felt like I was embarrassed that I wanted to lose weight. I didn't want to tell anyone that I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't want to talk about the fact that I was uncomfortable being overweight. And it was all just something I hid. I hid the binge eating. And so all of that was just tied into one, and it was holding me back from making these healthier choices. As I mentioned, I was always overweight, but in 2019, I had gained a substantial amount of weight. I run my own business of cookie and cake decorating, but I also had a full-time job that I was working about 50 hours a week at, sometimes even more. It was a lot, and I was juggling a lot during that time. I was putting so much stress on myself. I was not eating healthy. We were eating out every single meal or just making freezer meals, and it really led to a very quick weight gain. So I would say in that year alone, I gained about 50 pounds, maybe 2018, 2019, around there. I gained 50 pounds pretty quickly. And during that time, it was really dark for me. I had really negative thoughts. I always had negative thoughts about my body and myself throughout my life, but it got much worse during these last few months before I had started my weight loss journey, because I would always tell myself that I was a failure. I would talk so meanly to myself in my head, like to the point where I would go to the bathroom and I would see myself in the mirror and just like start ripping on myself, or start saying like, you would just be happy if you could just lose weight, but you can't lose weight. Like I would say all these things to myself, and it wasn't right, and it's not okay. but that was the mindset that I had. And that kind of also switched over to the mindset I had where it was like, I'm past the point of no return. There is really no point. Every time I would make a food decision, what I was gonna eat, I would say screw it and just eat whatever I wanted to eat because I already felt awful. I already knew in my head, technically, that I couldn't do the things I wanted to do, and that's not true. But I convinced myself, and I was so negative talking to myself. So this wasn't the first thing that switched. The first thing that actually got me to start losing weight was the fact that I was seriously terrified for my health. I began to have numbness in my feet. I began to get very lightheaded after I would eat my meals at work. I just had trouble walking up the stairs without being winded. I love hiking. I love being active, like I mentioned, and I couldn't do any of the things I wanted to do. And so when it started to get to that point in 2019, I decided that I couldn't do it anymore. I actually saw a quote that said, if you don't make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness. And that quote changed so much for me. And when I saw that, I really thought about the fact that I'm gonna be spending time in doctor's offices all the time. I'm gonna develop diabetes. I am not gonna be able to do the physical activities that I love doing. And so that was a turning point for me. And that was also the point where I started to kind of switch how I talk to myself and realize that me talking the way I was and thinking the way I was actually impacting my life and was actually keeping me in the spot I was in. A lot of that came along with watching different YouTube videos, even just about manifesting, about journaling, positive affirmations. It was just, I was really trying to, in the dark place I was in, find positivity and find ways to motivate me to get on the right track. And once I started to tell myself, like, I can do this. What's holding me back? Like, I am in control of my decisions. I stopped having this victim mentality that I had previously had. And I'm not saying that it wasn't okay. I'm not saying that I wasn't in a position that maybe I was partially a victim and I was like doing too much. But again, I was putting myself in that situation. And so when I started to realize like I'm the one who's in control of this, it was a game changer for me. And it really switched my mentality. I was able to start to talk a little better to myself, even if it wasn't always what I believed. Like there were times where I would just fake it. I would just, even throughout my weight loss journey, I would not see myself as how I maybe looked. I would see myself as worse, but I would tell myself, you look great, you look awesome, like you're doing great. And just talking like that and thinking like that, it's amazing what a difference it made, even when I had to kind of fake it till I made it. Because then when I did start to actually feel that way, it came easier and it began to just transition everything in my life. It was insane. So like I said, mindset was huge. And I really think that that is the place you have to start. You have to realize that you are in control. Nobody is going to do this for you. I was in a position where I thought that someone was going to come save me and fix me from all these habits. And pretty much I was helpless if not. And I had to realize that no, I make these decisions. I am in control of working myself to death or eating these foods that are gonna make me sick. Like I just was not doing well and I had to take control. So the next thing I want to talk about is my diet and how I adjusted what I was eating. So like I mentioned before, I was eating fast food multiple times a day. We were eating at local restaurants multiple times a day. Like it became more normal for us to eat out than make food at home. And when we were making food at home, we were making huge portions. We were making quick like ribs or freezer meals, freezer pizzas, stuff like that. And it just was not food that was filling or nourishing. And it was very high in calories. So one night I just happened to be scrolling through Instagram and I found someone's transformation pictures and I saw that she had lost weight using Weight Watchers, or WW is what they're known as now. And I had heard about WW throughout my life, all the commercials. I knew people's parents who did it, and that's what I always thought of it as. I thought of it as like something people's parents did for some reason, and I never pictured myself doing it. I knew that I would not want to go to weigh-ins or personal meetings with people. I wanted to kind of be in control of whatever I did on my own. To start at least, I just didn't feel comfortable. And so what I did was I still looked WW up that night. I realized that they had a digital version. And with that, I didn't have to go into meetings. I could do everything on this app. I could do my weigh-ins on this app and everything was pretty much in my control that way. And it was also a cheaper option. So I talked to my husband at the time, my fiance, and he also has always struggled with his weight. He's been overweight since he can remember, and both of us had similar struggles with food and portion sizes. And so during this time when I gained the weight, he also gained a significant amount of weight because we were eating the same. He had a job that was an hour and a half away. It took a huge toll on us. And yeah, it was just everything all at once. So we were both going through this part together. And so I talked to him the next day and I said, hey, I saw that WW has an online version. Would you want to just try this? We decided to just do it. We got a free month. We signed up and we have not looked back since. With WW, I have learned so much about eating, about portion sizes, about nourishing meals, and it has helped me so much to get on track with my nutrition. So I always have struggled with tracking calories for some reason. It's always been really overwhelming for me to track calories, so I've never been successful with that. So I thought it would be a little different with WW because it's a point system. And what really helped was in the beginning, Adam and I started to track a ton of meals that we were eating before we started WW. And with WW, you're allotted a certain amount of dailies and then a certain amount of weeklies. But with your dailies, it's like how many points you're supposed to be eating in a day. So I want to say I started out with like 38 in the beginning. We were eating meals alone, just a meal, that were 70, 80, 90 points. And like I said, I was supposed to have 38 points in a day. So I was eating triple my points in one meal instead of spreading it throughout the day. And it wasn't healthy filling meals. They weren't anything. They were very processed, very greasy, very high fat, high calorie meals. We realized that, and it was a wake up call. And along with that, it also taught us how to measure portion sizes. So that comes down to meat, cheese. I used a scale that I started weighing all of our cheese every time we used it. And it finally taught me how to portion cheese. I still get a good amount. I still incorporate it in meals, and it's just what the portion should be. And so that way I'm getting a nourishing amount, but it's not over the top, and I have more control over what I'm eating. Also, one more thing I want to mention with portions was that my whole life I always would have like a sandwich with a side. Like I always thought I had to have a sandwich with chips or really fill my plate. And what I started to do was I would put the serving that I was tracking on my plate, and then I knew that if I was still hungry after, I could just go back up and get more. Or a lot of times for lunch, I would make a wrap. In the past, I would have chips with it right away, but I would sit down, I would eat my wrap, and then if I was still hungry, I would go back for the chips. But a lot of times I would find that I wasn't hungry and I was satisfied with just the wrap and maybe an apple or something. And so a lot of times I was just eating out of boredom or just eating because I wanted to eat, and I really didn't need the food, or it wasn't really benefiting me in the ways that I thought it was. So really learning to control my portions by starting small and remembering that I could go back up for more. It's not gonna go anywhere, because before I almost used to have this fear that I just wasn't gonna get enough food. Even at restaurants, I would try to find like the biggest meal so I could get the most food because I was scared I wasn't gonna have enough food all the time. And it was all something in my head, but really learning to just focus on portion sizes and what's gonna make me feel good and what's gonna fill me up helped so much. So in the beginning, what we decided to do too is that we decided we were gonna go as long as we could without getting any fast food. We were gonna try to start out right away making meals at home and just grocery shopping for healthier options. So we actually lasted about a month and a half without getting any takeout, fast food, anything like that. And I think that helped us so much, because within 3 days, we felt so different. We felt so much better. I can't even explain how much more energy I had, how much less groggy I felt, how much I did not crave those foods anymore that were so high in calories and grease and cheese and just things that really didn't make me feel good. And for so long, I just brushed it off and I just thought it was everything that I was going through. But really, my food choices were holding me back so much and really making me feel much worse than I realized. So another thing that we did that I found was extremely helpful was finding different food substitutes. So I love ranch dressing and I put it on everything. And I found right away that ranch is very high in points. And so it was our mission then to just find lower point sauces and lower point just meals in general. We kind of made it fun. And I think that's also what helped us stick to it so much in the beginning, is that we made it fun. We enjoyed going to the grocery store, scanning different foods, seeing what their point values were, what we could get and what we were trying to incorporate. And like, we would just get new foods that we could cook with. And that also helped a lot, is just being able to get in the kitchen and cook, but nothing too crazy. I never did any recipes that were so over the top. I tried to keep it simple to certain ingredients, and going going along with that, I also started prepping ingredients. Adam and I had tried meal prepping so many times, and it always ended with us throwing away the meals. The chicken got dry. I got sick of it by the third day. Like, I just have never been able to stick to meal prepping. But what I have found has helped me so much on my journey is prepping ingredients. So I'll link the video below, but I prep a ton of ingredients throughout the week, and it just helps me to build meals from them. I can build so many different meals from these ingredients, but I'm not stuck to one meal 5 days in a row, and it doesn't get dried out. It's just so many different ways that you can prep food and ingredients to make meals that work so much better. So I prep jasmine rice. I always have containers of jasmine rice. I prep big batches of turkey burgers that I can use for burgers or bowls, or sometimes I even cut them up and put them on wraps. I prep veggie mix, which I cook up some bell pepper, some zucchini, some onion in a huge container. And then throughout the week, I just add that to every meal. I add it to wraps, I add it to rice bowls, I add it to eggs, I add it to pasta. So many options, and you just have them prepped in there. So it takes no time to add them to a meal. And then it's an easy way to add extra vegetables. I also like to prep 2-ingredient dough. I'll do pitas or bagels. And then sometimes I'll even grill like a good amount of chicken. I'll do different seasonings for each one. And I just like to have that food in the fridge because then I can build so many meals off of it. So prepping ingredients over meal prepping helped us so much. And then one thing that I really want to touch on that's really important, and again, like I mentioned, this is your journey. It's what works best for you. But what has worked best for me is not restricting anything. And this helps a lot because of binging, because with binging, there's so many times where I would restrict something I wanted, and then that's the food I ended up binging later because I wanted it more and more as I restricted it more and more. And it's just all a mental thing. But I have been maintaining my weight now, and I am able to incorporate everything. I have everything that I want. Today I went to the mall and I was able to have an Auntie Anne's pretzel, but tonight I'm gonna have a super nourishing meal with a bunch of vegetables and protein, and it's gonna keep me full, and it's all about balance. That sounds so simple, but it is so important to remember that this is a lifestyle change. If you want this to be sustainable, you have to remember that it's about balance, and you can have the things you want in moderation. You don't have to restrict from anything. I truly do not restrict anything because I have found that when I do, I crave it more. And so if I allow myself to have it in moderation, in the proper portion sizes, or only a couple times a month or something like that, I am so much more likely to just stay on track. And there are times to this day where I still feel guilt after I eat a meal. If I eat something that's higher in points or something super greasy that maybe doesn't make me feel great, and I feel like, great, I just blew my progress or I'm off track. But the same way you won't lose all the weight overnight, you won't gain the weight either. So the most important part is getting back on track. When you have that meal, get back on track the next day and you will be fine. Or get back on track the next meal and you'll be fine. Make an effort to drink your water after that meal and it'll help. There are so many things you can do to balance everything out, and remember that it's all about balance. So the next thing I want to talk about is extremely important, and that is consistency and motivation for staying consistent. And you're not gonna have motivation all the time, but there are certain things that I did throughout my journey that really helped me to stay on track, and things that I still do. So the biggest thing that I did was reward myself for consistency. And I started this out at the beginning. And the way I actually even thought to start doing this was when I was in 5th grade, my teacher, who is still my favorite teacher to this day, she had this thing called Homework Heroes. And with it, you would win a prize after you were consistent getting your assignment book signed for a month or however long it was. So it had nothing to do with the grade you got on your homework, because you would still have to do your homework, but you were getting credit for doing the homework and getting it signed. And then if you did that for 30 days in a row, you got your homework done and got it signed every single day, you won a prize at the end. And so that allowed me, and I know this is crazy, that was me in 5th grade, but like that allowed me to have complete control over it. When I didn't get my assignment book signed, it was my fault. It was in my control. And a lot of times I would put in the effort to do my homework and I would think that I got it all right, but I wouldn't. That would be something maybe not so much in my control, but because I got it signed, I still got the credit for it. So in a way, that kind of switched over to my weight loss. So the way I thought of it was, a lot of times when people start a weight loss journey, they set a target goal. They set, I want to lose 10 pounds in the first month, 20 pounds in the second month. They'll set target numbers for a weight they want to hit. And I found that to be so stressful. I found that to put so much pressure on me. It made competition between Adam and I. We would try to like do competitions to lose the most weight, and never worked. And I think a huge part of that was because we didn't have control of the scale. So even if we did everything right for a month, I still might not lose that 10 pounds, and then I'm gonna be discouraged and just quit at the end. But if I did everything I could right, if I tracked every day, if I drank my water, if I did all the things that kept me on track, at the end of the month, I still am making progress. The scale is just a number. It is a great tool for measuring, but it's just a number. And I can't control that, but I can control staying on track. And when I would do that, I would reward myself. So for the first month, I completely tracked every meal. I stayed so consistent with everything. And because of that, I rewarded myself. So the first month I bought myself a foot massager off Amazon, and that has become my favorite thing, by the way. But anyway, it was nice to actually feel accomplished. Even if I didn't hit a goal weight that I wanted to, I was consistent, and I was so proud of myself for staying consistent. And that made it so much easier to stay consistent the next month. So the reward really, really motivated me to do something that was actually in my control. So I chose a few other rewards. At 3 months, I wanted a tattoo, so I got a tattoo to reward myself. At 6 months, I dyed my hair blue because that was something I always wanted to do. I got myself roller skates that I really wanted. So same thing with Adam. He did the same thing. So he got himself an Xbox controller. He got himself an Xbox game. Like, he found different things to reward himself with for staying consistent. Another thing that I did to really stay motivated too was take progress pictures. And from the beginning of my journey, I weighed in and I forgot to take measurements, which I also wish I would have done. So I didn't take measurements, but I took pictures in a bunch of different outfits. And that way I could see different angles. I did a front and a side view of like 7 outfits maybe. And that way throughout my journey, I could try these outfits on, take different progress pictures in them, and see different progress in places that maybe I couldn't always see it in certain outfits, or just I wanted to see the progress I made in certain outfits. And that helped me so much. I can't even explain how much it motivated me, because I got so excited then throughout my journey to keep trying these outfits on. I still do to this day, and to see the progress still happening, because again, like I mentioned before, the scale is just a number. And it can be extremely discouraging if you're on a weight loss journey and you're focusing so much on that number and it's not going where you want to. So for months, I have stayed at 180 pounds consistently, and it got so discouraging to me, but I've also continued to take the pictures and see the progress. It's been crazy, the progress I'm still able to make while maintaining the same weight, because I've incorporated weightlifting. I've started to eat a little bit more because of the weightlifting, and because of that, I'm building more muscle. Another thing in the beginning that helped me with progress pictures as well was to find people that had similar body types to me that were tall. I found Mari Llewellyn, who I really related to because she was also tall and she talked about it, and I don't know, something about that really helped me to see her body type through her transformation. Although I want to mention, again, it is your journey. Do not compare yourself to anyone's journey, but you can use it to motivate you. You can use it to be inspired, to see what they're able to do, because you're able to do the same things. It also helped me to start to invest in more products that made me feel good, even when it comes to like skincare and just anything taking care of myself. I started drinking collagen for loose skin. I was scared I would have loose skin because of the weight loss. And so I started buying collagen. I started drinking my greens. I started getting pre-workout for the gym. So like different supplements like that. We also started buying more expensive protein bars and more expensive snacks and just healthier foods that were a little bit pricier. Some of them because they were just like individually packaged and stuff. But spending that extra money, if you're able to, I'm not saying this is something you need to do, but for me personally, spending that extra money and investing it in my health motivated me more to stay on track, because I didn't want to just be wasting this money. I didn't want to be drinking these greens every morning to just go have a meal that's going to get me off track right after. I wanted to keep making good choices afterwards. And I found that that really, really motivated me. And I get a lot of questions. I drink my greens to help with bloating. They don't make you lose weight. They help me because I drink them every morning. I have a glass of water with them. They help me have a little bit of energy. So much help with bloating, so much help with regulating my digestion. And so that's the reason that I've taken them and invested in those, because it just helps me so much. And then one last thing I want to say just about motivation and consistency. It is very hard to stay consistent and to go through this journey when you don't have support. And you guys would not believe how many people actually reach out to me saying that their spouse doesn't support their weight loss, or their family or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. People don't support their journey, even their friends. And that can be so hard. So I'm grateful for the support I had. Obviously, it helped a ton to have Adam doing it with me, but I actually in the beginning started out by, it was probably like 3 or 4 months into my journey, but I decided to make an Instagram to help hold myself accountable. So this was an Instagram I wasn't going to tell anyone about. It was just going to be my fitness page about my fitness journey. I was going to post anything, my meals, my weigh-ins, just different things that help me stay motivated, even like quotes and stuff, and try to connect with other people who are on the same journey. And I found actually really quickly that there were a ton of people that I could connect with. And that's what became my Instagram to this day. And it's just crazy how much it's grown and how many people I've connected with. But that kept me so motivated and on track. And even just like plating my food to take a picture, it was that one little extra thing that made me happy and made me excited to make healthy choices that helped me stay on track as well. If you struggle to have support with anyone in person or in your own personal life, I really do recommend, even if you use WW, there's a WW Connect section in the app where you can post and you can communicate with other members and ask questions and do polls and everything. And it's really cool and it's really helpful when you need some extra support. I'm always here to support you guys as well. I say that all the time. If you want to reach out to me on Instagram, if you have any questions or you just need some support, I'm always here. I know how hard it can be, but you have to remember that you can do it. And don't let anyone hold you back. Don't let anyone's opinions or thoughts hold you back, because you're just trying to better yourself and you need to make yourself a priority. Okay, so I waited this long to talk about exercise because of how important I think everything else is before exercise. So I waited 3 months to incorporate exercise on my journey, and that was because I wanted to make nutrition my main focus. I wanted to learn how to portion control. I wanted to learn how to weigh my food and track meals and find foods that nourished me and filled me up, and that I didn't have to rely on exercise to burn calories, is how I had always looked at it in the past. And I think that's where I struggled so much in the past, was I thought that I could work out like crazy and burn off all these calories that I was eating, when in reality, you don't burn off as much as you really think you are when you are exercising. Of course, it's so good to get exercise, but when they say abs are made in the kitchen, that is so true. And I always even heard that and thought like, okay, yeah, abs are made in the kitchen, whatever. It is so true. And I can't believe how much it matters that you put your nutrition first before exercise. And exercise is amazing. There's so many amazing benefits. And I'm so grateful that I'm so active, because there really are so many great reasons to exercise. However, do not depend on exercise for weight loss. If you're specifically looking to lose weight, exercising alone is not the answer. You have to start with your food choices. You have to nourish yourself and take care of your body. But that being said, I did incorporate exercise. I do incorporate exercise still. And what I started out with was I actually got a pair of rollerblades. So 3 months in, like I mentioned, I got a pair of rollerblades and I just started rollerblading around my neighborhood. It was something I liked doing as a kid, and I knew I hated running. I hate going to the gym and doing ellipticals. I knew that there was no cardio I really enjoyed that I could think of, except for skating. And so I started rollerblading, and that was one of the best decisions I could have ever made. And to this day, it is something that brings me so much joy, and it feels so amazing. It helps me with my mental health. It helps me get some physical activity, and it's just been so beneficial. So I found something that I love and something that I actually started to look forward to every single day. There was not a single day that I didn't want to go skate. And if there were the first 5 minutes where I was feeling tired or maybe didn't feel that motivated to skate, within 5 minutes, I was so happy I was out doing it. So finding something you enjoy is so important, because then you will actually be more likely to stay consistent with it instead of dreading it like I had in the past. I dreaded going to the gym and running on the ellipticals for 30 minutes. I hated it so much. I really did. And because of it, I never stayed on track with it. Another thing that I started doing, and this was about 6 months or 7 months into my journey, was I started lifting weights at the gym. And that was when I really started to notice more definition. My skin started to tighten up a lot more. I get a lot of questions about loose skin, and I think weightlifting contributed so much to that, as well as the collagen and a few other things that I did. But the gym really just gave me so much confidence. It gave me something to look forward to. I love going to the gym and putting my music in and just focusing on myself for an hour and not anything else. And it seriously has become therapeutic for me, but also it's physical activity. So it's really been positive for my body in that way. So the important thing there is just find something that you enjoy, that you're going to be likely to do, and don't depend on exercise for weight loss. Another thing I want to talk about is just the importance of water, because I feel like it gets talked about and it's like common sense, you need to drink water, but I totally underestimated the power of water when I was not making the best choices for myself. Overall, it just helps you feel so much better. You need to be hydrated. A lot of times I found when I was hungry or snacky, I just needed some water. I was dehydrated. Staying on track with that has just made me all around feel so much better, which has made decisions when it comes to nutrition or activity, it's made those decisions so much easier. And along with that, I didn't really struggle with this before. Adam did a little bit more, but he loves drinking his calories. So pop and alcohol and juice and just different drinks. And I drink alcohol. I drank a lot of alcohol in the past. That was also something that was a struggle in 2019 that I think also contributed to my weight gain. But anyway, limiting those, I really realized how much it wasn't worth it to be drinking my calories and how much more nourished I could feel if I was eating those calories instead of drinking them on pop. Carbonation I found really makes me bloated, so that wasn't helping. And yeah, it was just these sugary drinks that I was having that were not benefiting me at all. And honestly, I didn't even enjoy them enough for them to be worth it. And I get a lot of questions about alcohol. I do still drink alcohol, but I have made some significant changes. I used to drink a lot of like Tall Boys, Mike's Hard, really sugary drinks, sugary mixers, pop and juice with tons of hard liquor. And when I started my weight loss journey, I kind of switched over to more seltzers or even just drinking water flavored with Mios or Crystal Light with some rum or just hard liquor that way, but not adding all the sugar and the calories in drinks was huge for me. And so to this day, I still do drink. I don't drink as frequently as I used to, but it is something I still incorporate. Like I mentioned, I don't restrict anything, and that includes alcohol. And then one last thing I wanted to mention was sleep and just how important it is to make sleep a priority. I didn't realize how much the stress I had on myself and the lack of sleep was contributing to the pretty much downfall of my health, honestly. And so when I started to make sleep a priority and put my phone down or take one less order a week and just start to focus on that, it was amazing how much better I felt, how much easier it was to stay on track and just make better choices. I found when I was tired and groggy, I was so much more likely to reach for salty snacks that were just not gonna make me feel better, or sweet candy. I just craved candy all the time and just foods like that that weren't gonna contribute to me feeling better. So overall, this journey has just been such a learning experience for me, and I've had to learn to make decisions that put my health first and put myself first, and it has benefited me so much. And I know that a lot of people struggle because even me saying put yourself first, make yourself a priority, that is so important because so many people think they have to put other people first, their family first, but you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else. And when I kind of thought about it that way, it's so true, because if I'm not able to take care of myself, how can I help anyone else? And when I started to realize that and started to realize how to take care of myself and how I could help others, it changed so much for me. Really, it's so important to just find the things that work best for you. Find the things that are gonna make you happy, that are gonna motivate you. We made WW a lot of fun so that it was a lot easier for us to stay on track. We really tried to make it more of our lifestyle. We wanted to make it something we just incorporated, and it didn't change too much, but it ended up completely changing our lives in the best way possible. Overall, you just have to find what works best for you and not be afraid to do it, because it is possible. And your thoughts are holding you back. Your choices are holding you back. Nothing is stopping you from starting right now and changing your life right now. And that was another thing we did. We were always putting it off. I always said, okay, I have this whole plan. I'm going to start Monday. It's Friday night. I'll start Monday. I never started Monday. I never got there because I would make these choices up until then that would lead me to just feel even more discouraged when it got to the point I was supposed to start. Start now. Make a plan. Figure out the things that are going to work best for you and that aren't going to make you feel like you are doing something you don't want to do. And that's what we did. And that's why it's been such a good transition into just a lifestyle change, because in order to make this sustainable, it has to be a lifestyle change. It has to be balanced, and you have to do things in moderation, and you have to find foods that fuel you. Make sure that you're not restricting carbs, because carbs give you energy, and you're not restricting the dessert you might want to have every once in a while, because then you might be more likely to binge on it. Like, you have to really think about all these things and what's going to benefit you the most. That being said, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you're looking to make a lifestyle change, really focus on taking it one day at a time, one change at a time. Find small substitutes for foods you like. Start to make drinking water a focus. Start to do the things slowly that will build into big habits that will truly change your life. That is all I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time.